Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined today by Mr. Lawrence Jackson, Mr. Denny Carter, Mr. Kyle Dvorchak. We're going to be talking the latest news around the league, including Tyreek Hill's oddly specific retirement prediction, Austin Ekeler's very specific terms for how he wants to play the 2023 football season. I believe he said he would cry if he was back on the Chargers. Rachaad White getting some 3-down back love for the Tampa Bay Bucks, who are going to need it since Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask are their quarterbacks. Patriots maybe taking a running back for some reason. I don't know. Then we're going to get into more NFL draft talk and fits. Last week we talked Kyle's kind of early dynasty rankings at a few positions. Today we're going to talk maybe the top 5-ish receivers and tight ends, but more from like a perspective of which teams might actually make these receivers and tight ends the first off the board. So kind of getting into an NFL draft needs type discussion, which we have not really had yet here on Rotoworld Football Show. But yeah, first, Denny, Tyreek Hill, he said 2025 and I'm out. You should check out Galaxy Brains to see maybe why you're dubious on that, but maybe give people a little taste on Tyreek Hill and his retirement prediction.
It seems like something we will have forgotten about, and possibly Tyreek Hill will have forgotten about when 2025 rolls around and other teams are clamoring for his services. He's not going to be like ancient. And also, he's not like one of these enormous receivers who age poorly, like a Megatron. Like in Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay, those guys that just don't age well.
You can say Julio. It's okay.
I
didn't like Lawrence right here. I don't make him feel bad.
Don't say Julio. And Julio.
You're right. I didn't want you to curse at me on air. So no, I'm kidding. But yeah, Julio. So I don't think he's going. There's no indication he's going to break down like those guys. I would be really stunned if he actually did leave the game after the 2025 season. He'll only be 31, guys. He's going to be around.
Yeah, and he's got more like Deshaun Jackson, where he's playing till he's like 36, and he still looks really fast for like the first half of like that 60-yard catch. There was a few times last season where Deshaun Jackson, maybe it was 2 years ago.
He's still fast.
Well, he was still fast, remember? But then he like totally died at the end of the run, where he looked like an old man, basically. And I think Tyreek's definitely got some of that in him.
Wasn't it like 3 years ago that he like played week 1 or 2 with the Eagles? Big game, or big catch at least, gets hurt, returns for like week 16, big game, gets hurt again. I think it was like Eagles 2019 or 20. It's been such a long time.
Yeah. But see, that's why Tyreek put this announcement out there. He wants to avoid that, so y'all don't be talking about him like that. So if he just go at 31, like still more than likely he'll be the fastest dude in the league still at 31. And what better feeling than to go out on top? He said he wants to get into the gaming and the streaming and all that. That's the thing now. Me and Denny found that out Super Bowl week.
Yes.
Denny, of course, streams the new popular youth game Wii Golf.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So Tyreek won a little bit of that Wii Golf in his system, man. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna. But I mean, like you said, man, it's like it's easy to say it now because it makes it seem like he doesn't care. Like, oh, I'm good. I'll just retire. Man, how many players stay too late? Mostly all of them. Usually the game tells them they're done. There's not a lot of Barry Sanders that walk away when you literally the best. So we'll see how it goes when 2025 come around.
The money will be.
I've got it. It was 2020 weeks 1 and 2. Deshaun Jackson totals over 100 yards on 8 catches, a handful of targets too. Was out there earning it. Gets hurt, plays in 2 more games over the next 10 or so weeks, comes back for, I was right, week 16, 1 catch, 81 yards, touchdown, inactive the next week.
Well, Kyle, I remember that. he left the game with a hamstring injury 2 seconds after that touchdown.
Yeah, it was
So,
suffered while scoring that touchdown. Maybe that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, that he was limping
Probably,
by
yeah.
the end.
And he's been playing ever since. Was that not? That's such a good way to go out. That's such an 81-yard tud, dude. That's it. Put the cleats on the rack, man.
And listen, there's always the Ravens. He can always come back to the Ravens.
They're gonna sign him. I'm surprised they cut him.
He's
Speaking of big catches, the game against the Ravens against the Jaguars, probably Lamar's best throw of the season, going across the field. Throw, that was Deshaun Jackson. That pretty much kept them in the game, like a 60-yard completion. He burnt the defense, but then after that, they cut him a few weeks later. Tyreek Hill trying to avoid all of that.
Yeah, Tyreek, the more we talk, I think Tyreek should stick to his plan and go out in 2025. Go out like a baller, Tyreek. Austin Ekeler wants to go out like a baller, and to him, that is not playing out the final year of his Chargers contract. He said the worst case scenario for him, I'm assuming he's referring to his football contract, but could mean for his entire life, is returning to the Chargers to play out the final year of his contract. Currently slated to make $6.25 million. Guys, there hasn't been any rumors on the Bills been pursuing Austin Ekeler. He hasn't even been tangentially connected to any teams, has he? It just seems like we won this argument way too severely, and that no one will ever pay a running back after the age of age 25 again. And this just seems really bad for Austin Ekeler, and I don't even know where I'm going with this. Is he going to be on the Chargers?
I think Lamar Jackson might have more suitors today than Austin Ekeler does. And we know that ain't plenty. Well, it ain't any.
Lamar at least has a team that tried to give him a contract. It was a 1-year deal, but he's more suitors.
Austin Ekeler, he could be in a. It wouldn't shock me of this, right? If he might be, I don't know, he may be overvaluing himself just a little bit. I don't know, but I do know that his best chance for elite fantasy success is probably with the team that he's on now. And he said it man, the worst case scenario is me playing for the Chargers. Well, that's going to be,
that's
him.
True of all of us, man. None of us want to play for the Chargers.
No one wants that.
Yeah. That's who's going to give him all them targets. That's where he has a chance to get 100 catches in the season. I almost feel like if he go to another team, he's going to be splitting more of them touches up just about anywhere you go. Because when you think about it, there's not – even if you look on some of the bad teams in the league, like the Houston Texans got the first pick. They got Dameon Pierce.
You tend to have someone better than Josh Kelly. So there's always going to be someone better than
exactly.
Josh Kelly.
So it's not like he gonna be committee Austin if he did end up somewhere else.
Pat, who did the
best play for him? Yeah,
for sure.
I think stay with the Chargers, for fantasy purposes, please. Although he entering his age 28 season, I think that Ekeler is going to learn a tough lesson in that nobody's reading all that. They're out on a 28-year-old running back. No one's going to pay up what Ekeler wants to be paid, unfortunately. And, he's making around 6.5 million this year. He's not even, I don't even think top 10 in running back salary. Yeah. I mean, it's not good. It really stinks for him. But the fact that nobody is knocking down the Chargers' door right now, I think is bad news for him. He's going to have to play out his deal.
Yeah. At least with Lamar, teams were oh, we know he's available, but we're out. Teams don't even know. If you told them, oh, are you interested in Austin Ekeler? Be oh, who? What? Isn't he under contract? What?
You get their out of office reply, how? No way, this guy's in Italy till April 30th. Come on.
Pat, who did? Speaking of how lackluster the rest of the Chargers backfield is, who did they draft last year at running back?
It wasn't Larry Roundtree. That was 2 years ago.
I know.
That's not a rhetorical question.
No, it's literally a pop quiz
Maybe-
because I know he doesn't know Lawrence who they draft.
No, I
Oh,
do.
Isaiah Spiller. But we was
No,
excited about that.
I knew that. No, I didn't. I forgot.
Yeah,
He literally didn't play. None of these dudes play because it's what we're all talking about. It's like not only, I mean, Eckler's like a small dude. He is thick, but he's a smaller dude. He's not a guy you expect to get as many touches as he does. Like if you go somewhere else, he's probably not getting all the catches, but he's also not getting nearly as many carries either. So I think it's by far the best case outcome for fantasy, to be clear. Like he should try and get the bag, but for fantasy, you want him with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Props to Lawrence for
he
remembering.
28 years old. He realizing it's like this is his last chance to get money, like for real. You know what I'm saying? And he's not 28 years old and Derrick Henry. Like if Derrick Henry right now, Derrick Henry right now, like he's 29. Like people will be knocking down that door. Now, I know he was available for trade earlier, but I think that's more of a realistic situation where teams is like clamoring to get him, not for Austin Ekeler.
Lawrence, there are families that listen to this podcast.
Including mine.
And they've got kids that need to grow up. Welcome to the real world, boss.
half of our audience is under 8 years old.
It is insane. We have the demographics on this pod are through the roof growth trajectory, but they can't hear the S word.
We love the
That's why we can't do deep dives.
Yeah, the advertisers have fled. I just think the best case scenario, why don't the Chargers just guarantee this guy some money in 2024? Like this, come on, like put 1 year on top of it or something. Like,
Pat, do you have a vested interest in this? You're like, come on, just give him a little bit.
He got him on all the dynasty rosters.
No, it's the worst thing because like people have talked about like why should like all the best athletes in the world, all the best athletes in America, what do they get funneled to in high school? They get funneled to running back. Like it's still like treated as like the glamour position for like the elite of the elite athletes. But then they get to the elite league and they're just treated as a refuse after like age 25. It's like an untenable situation. The way they chew these guys up and spit them out after their rookie contract. And then, yeah, even the ones who like break the mold and are still highly productive, like late into their 20s, like Austin Ekeler, like no one will even gamble like a 1 year extension on them now. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, he was so good. He's been so good every year, like back to back to back. You think if he's like a defensive end with like 14 sacks last year, which like I feel like what he did last year is kind of the equivalent of like a really good season and like another like 16 sack season before that. He's going out and getting this final like 4 year, 80 million contract or something. Like he's not asking for that because he doesn't play a position the NFL values. Like, but I think the reason like the Chargers don't like, or maybe they have tried to offer him that like 1 to 2 year extension. He probably does want to hit free agency or get a team that will do it to him right now and get like a 3 year deal. Cause like Warren said, like this is the last chance probably for a really good contract. After this, you got to think he's probably just the way the NFL values running back and sees the way age and tread on your tires impacts the running back position. You got to think this is his last chance to get like a 3 year deal. After that, you know, if he's like 32 or something, he's probably stuck pigeonholed in like 1 and 2 year deals for a while if he maintains a really high level of play, which is like obviously frustrating for him.
Yeah, was definitely correct when he triangulated like the time to get paid is now, and he's got to go all in. We done talking about Austin Ekeler? Austin,
I'm good.
We want you to get paid, Austin. The Tampa Bay Bucks want Rachaad White to get paid. I forget. Yeah, Leonard Fournette's not on the Bucks anymore, right? He is not. He's been released. It's Rachaad White. He could be a 3-down back. Todd Bowles is now saying they want him to be a 3-down back. The Bucks are gonna kind of be like a fantasy trap. I think all year there's a lot going on there. They could still draft a running back. But Denny Carter, you haven't spoken for a while. They want him to be a 3-down back. How much are we buying into this? Could Rachaad White be a major fantasy breakout candidate in 2023? We wanted him to be in 2022, and he kind of was.
He was fine, you know, efficiency-wise as a pass catcher, but the rushing was really bad. And I've been told on Twitter by Bucks fans that that was only because of the offensive line. It was entirely on the offensive line. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I mean, he was as inefficient as Leonard Fournette last year on the ground, and the Bucks had the worst rushing game in the league last year. I don't know. I think that fantasy wise, he's going to be hyped as, a breakout 3-down guy. I think that will inflate his ADP probably well outside of where I'm comfortable taking him. And really, I know that it's okay. It's April. The Bucs are saying, yes, he's our guy. He's going to be 3 downs, whatever. A lot's going to change. Like they're going to draft guys. They're going to add guys in the summer. They're going to say, well, we want to split it up. We want to make sure we don't burn out.
Keyshawn Vaughn's got to get his touches. Keyshawn Vaughn's looking really good. He's only 29 right now. So.
Keyshawn Vaughn definitely one of the guys that's going to be looking real good during the summer. That's the type of player that sounds about right.
And I'm not going to bore the listeners with the really geeky analytics of it, but just trust me when I say, maybe I'll write about it, but trust me when I say that it was not good. I was squinting real hard to find something positive from Rachaad White's rookie season. I couldn't find it.
Couldn't find anything positive. He was sort of a good pass catcher, sort of.
He was dead average. He was like dead average in yards per route run among all running backs, and Leonard Fournette was better than him in yards per route run. And you would think in an offense that under Brady typically throws a ton to its running backs, that'd be one area where at least based on volume, maybe he could excel, but wasn't really there either. I think there's room for improvement. He was an incredible prospect as a pass catcher out of the backfield, one of the best yards per route run coming out of college in a while. But rubber hit the road and he wasn't good last year. So,
it's also maybe the Tom Brady and the rookie. Tom Brady's never going to put a rookie in the Shane Vereen role. Zoomers won't remember what that means. But I'll say the good thing about Rachaad White is these two things. Up until week 10, he was averaging under 10 touches per game. After week 10, that jumped to 15 touches per game. And the biggest thing of all for Rachaad White is this, like you said, Todd Bowles said they want him to be a 3-down back. The even more important thing is that he switched his number to number 1. His jersey number is number 1. So that right there lets you know that when you wear number 1 in football and you're a skill guy, you better be that guy. Jared McKinnon, I like him, but he ain't that guy. Right, but
he's not him. So a quick aside, a lot of times
Jamar Chase type of that's
a good one.
Yeah, there you go.
Quick aside, is 0 a good number? Just a quick yes or no. Rotopat 0 because they're now allowed to wear 0.
It's weird. We need more weirdness in American life.
I'll say yeah.
I don't like it, Denny.
To it.
No, Denny's apoplectic. Denny's been about to be institutionalized over the years.
Zero's low T, man. Zero's low T. 1, on the other hand, is sick.
Zero's super high T because what's even lower than 1? 0.
No.
I don't think that's how it works, Pat.
Agreed.
It's gonna be how it works. It's gonna be status. Yeah. Trust me.
Zero's a kicker number, dude. Zero's kickers and punters, man.
I'm gonna be turned into a radicalized boomer soon if these players keep changing their numbers. I can't take it. 0. Come
Calvin
on.
Ridley, number 0.
Yes.
Denny, we're turning Denny into Seinfeld. He's
that
means
0 games bet on this year for Ridley.
I know, Lawrence. I was gonna say that means his winnings this year for Calvin Ridley.
I think part of my mental block on Kyle Pitts is the fact that he wears 8. I can't deal with it.
That's a real weak alpha number for a tight end.
I feel like Kyle Pitts should have wore number 1 out the gate.
Pitts should be 88, man. He needs to be like a mauling
88, guys. Kyle Pitts needs to be 88.
He's not that guy. He's not that type of guy. 88, no.
He had 84 in college.
I like
he needs
that.
to be 84. He needs to be in the 80s, man. That's what
I'm
I'm scared.
Pounds and weigh 84. 84 is a 194-pound type of number.
Dude, you're scared. If you see someone who looks like Kyle Pitts and then he has a blocking tight end number, you get scared.
Like 86 or something.
Yeah, you get scared. It's like, what's this?
You should wear 45. You should wear 45.
He does need to wear 45. He needs an H-back.
That is ugly.
Cool.
If I see him running out 45, I'll never draft him again. I ain't drafted that, man.
No, he needs a stodgy number. He doesn't need this flashy, swaggy number. He needs to be really stodgy. He needs an H-back number for Kyle Pitts. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah,
Rachaad White being number 1.
Yeah,
this is analytics.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, Kyle Trask is number 2 jersey number.
That
2-1 backfield.
Man, the Bucs are down. So bad. They're down so bad. Bill Belichick wants us to believe Ramondre Stevenson's down so bad. The Athletics, Jeff Howe reporting they could take like a first-round running back. Basically, that's not the exact words of the
Blue
report,
chip.
Kyle. Say that again, Denny?
They're looking for a blue chip running back. That's what
Blue chip running back because they don't have one apparently, and Ramondre Stevenson, who's incredible. I mean, how much are we putting any credence in this? I mean, Bill Belichick is the kind of guy who would still take a first round running back, but would seem to be about need number 90 for the need number 0 for the Patriots because it's not a need.
Again, that's not how it works.
They have 2 like sophomore running backs coming back. They have like James Robinson on the roster. I feel like this is just maybe like space filler for a column. Is anyone actually buying into this?
Maybe a mid to late round guy just to compete for those, committee touches that's ultimately bound to happen. Somebody got to take the pressure off of Ramondre because the way that offense is shaping up right now. They're talking about trading Mac Jones and all that stuff. It looks like Ramondre Stevenson is in for a big year as far as like workload goes. So yeah, them drafting a running back in the first round, I would laugh at them. Even if it was Bijan Robinson, I would laugh. And then we'd be all sad because now you got Ramondre Stevenson and Bijan Robinson. But that would be complete joke, and it lets you know that Bill Belichick is just checked out.
Ooh, Denny wanted to make this exact same point in Galaxy Brains today. Denny, pick up on Lawrence.
I think this would be somewhat of a no, that's not. I'm not going to soften this. This would be the nail in the coffin of the argument that Bill Belichick has completely lost his edge, because he's made poor decision after poor decision over the past 3 years without Tom Brady, including personnel-wise, bringing in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry and making them 2 of the most highly paid tight ends in the league, and then not using them at all. So I don't know what he's doing, and I wouldn't put it past him to take Bijan. And by the way, when we're talking about a blue chip running back, we're only talking about Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
that's it. That's
he is the only one.
Jahmyr Gibbs at worst. But like if he did it, there's still some people out there that be like, "Oh, Bill's got a plan. He's got," because when he does, Bill, if he does it, like when they show him at a picture at Middle Tennessee Western Community College, he's scouting a prospect, they think he got something up his sleeve. No, they don't. It's just the dude they're gonna have on a practice squad. He ain't doing that.
But they're gonna spend a second round pick on him, like with Cole Strange, right? Like Bill Belichick probably considered Cole Strange a blue chip guard or whatever he was and then there's the clip of like McVay and whoever the GM of the Rams is laughing like we thought he was a great pick in the 7th round, and they're like joking to each other about it. So look, he could still spend the blue chip capital. I'm gonna call that like day 2 is a blue chip adjacent, especially for running back where they don't really go too much in the first round anymore. He could still spend blue chip capital and end up with the Western App State Kentucky affiliate college running back that Lawrence is describing.
Obviously, look, I don't want to. These draft talks and like personnel decision talks get mixed up with fantasy a lot. I want to be clear that if Bijan Robinson goes to New England, he will run for 2,700 yards and score 28 touchdowns. Okay?
No, because he'll get totally misused because he'll probably like be behind like Kevin Harris on the depth chart or something.
Well, I don't know. I just don't want people to think. Look, yeah. He's gonna do great wherever he goes. It's not about Bijan. It's just about team building, and the team building decisions on Belichick's part have been very curious over the past 3 years. Some would say he has yet to have any success in his entire NFL life without Tom Brady.
Well, that's not true, but someone pointed out from the Ringer. I forget who it was. That like Bill Belichick. This seems like he's like beating the video game. He's like beating the main quest. Now he says all he's doing is side quests. And this would be like
he's doing like Super Mario Sunshine no jumps. Like don't get hit.
Or he's collecting all the Korok seeds.
He's just on Grand Theft Auto, just driving around, having fun. He ain't doing
stopping
nothing
at the red lights in GTA. Like he's obeying all the traffic laws in GTA just for fun. Like I will say to like you said, to circle back to how you started it, Pat, it's maybe a little fluffy because the first part of the quote is that the team is building the running game around Ramondre Stevenson. Quietly having interest in a blue chip running back, like those things are like mutually exclusive in a way. If you're going to add a first round running back, you are in fact not building the running game around Ramondre. I tend to lean towards the building around Ramondre, but like we said, like, I don't know, maybe Bill's just lost it.
Yeah, he just might be. He's doing.
That's why all that Lamar to Patriots talk, I'm like, any team, please, not them. I just don't like how it's going. I don't like the fact that they got it out there that they're trying to trade their quarterback. I don't know about all that.
Bill is. There are weird things afoot in New England, but I don't think drafting our first-round running backs be one of them. And if they don't add a running back, Ramondre is set up really, really well with only Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong. I mean, James Robinson might not even make the roster. I think his deal is really only 1 year, $2 million. It was originally reported as 2 years, $8 million, but not much of a contract.
All incentives, no guarantees type of stuff.
So as long as they do not draft Bijan, it is Ramondre Stevenson.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh, that's right. I can't say it.
Get it out, Pat. Get it out.
Come on, try again.
Get it out. And in fact, we have to have a palate cleanser with a promo. We'll be right back after this. Every season is draft season. Get your Rotoworld Draft Guide bundle today and dominate your football, baseball, and basketball drafts, packed with profiles, rankings, and projections. Order today and get all 3 Rotoworld Draft Guides for the price of 2. Plus, use promo code BARRY and save an extra 20% off at checkout. That is promo code BERRY to save 20% at checkout. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It is available in your app store today. Man, the Patriots. Man, we've been covering all the bases. They paying running backs, the Patriots, random retirements.
Robert Kraft at the NFL owners meetings kept talking about my team. He kept saying my team. Like, Robert Kraft is very media savvy and has been for a long time. I think that was a message, like, just so we're clear, this is not Bill's team. This is my team, and we better start doing things the right way or the successful way or something.
Our colleague Peter King said that Bill Belichick could finish his career with another organization. Which would be the ultimate side quest.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be the ultimate side quest.
I mean, it's the Brady saga, right? Brady finished, like, he's the GOAT Patriot, and then he finishes his career with another organization. Prove it, Bill. Prove you're not
he actually won.
Draft system.
Yeah.
He can't go to the Giants, which is where it was rumored for years and years and years he would go. Where would he even go? I wonder. Where would mercenary Bill?
He'll be on the Falcons.
Sorry, Lawrence.
Going tonight. No. Don't. For what? He'll go 6-10 over there. What do you mean? He ain't going there to win.
Does Nantucket have an expansion team? He might go there.
Producer Adam makes a great point, and producer Adam's correct. He got it right here. Belichick will go back to Cleveland when they fire Kevin Stefanski.
I know where he's going. Once Bezos buys the Commanders, that's where he's going, actually.
Oh, they're boys, right?
I don't know. I guess, actually. Yeah. He's one of those guys where, like, if you're a rich person, you're somehow friends with Bill Belichick. Like, wow, I didn't know Elon Musk was friends with Bill Belichick, but
they hang out.
Yeah, they're hanging out all the time. We hang out all the time, and now we're here to talk about teams that might be drafting a wide receiver. We learned a few of the names last week. But, yeah, I mean, Kyle, who's the first team that comes to mind when you say receiver needy team, like, who could maybe take a first-round receiver? I mean, the very first one I see is the Carolina Panthers, but they're, of course, not using the number 1 pick on a receiver. The same thing with the Texans, but they're not using the number 2 pick on a receiver.
They got 12, though. I'm probably going to have them mocked to take a receiver at 12. My mock draft will probably be up by the time you listen to this, if you're listening to it on Friday. To me, personally, I think this both makes sense, but it's also one I really want to see. So that's why I'll list it over the Texans, who are pretty high on the list, too. Please, Buffalo. I love Gabe as much as the next guy. That's actually not true. I used to love Gabe as much.
It was just because of the injury. It's gonna.
We're not doing this.
It's coming storming back.
No, let's not risk it. I love the idea that he will come storming back because he's a very interesting player. Let's not gamble on him coming back again. Let's really nail down this receiver position because last year he graded quite poorly in ESPN's open metric, also their catch metric. He doesn't really, like, he's a deep threat who doesn't really win jump balls, but he is not fast enough to just pure put separation between him and a corner. So I'm not really sure like what he does super well. He like runs one route well. He runs like a decent go.
Injures his ankle well.
And yeah, he injures his ankle. He does do that with supreme perfection. So let's put him to the number 3 role. Give him some easier coverages to work against because he's a limited player. I think he has skills that are good. There just aren't a ton of them. And it's okay if he does 1 or 2 things well, but especially, and maybe Josh Allen will never prefer to throw over the middle. Maybe he'll always be this like boundary guy who loves taking shots. He's very good at it. He will continue to have a ton of success throwing to the outside, but like, let's give them an option over the middle of the field. I'd love to see them. Like, they're probably like, they're not getting Jackson Smith and Jigba, but they could maybe get like Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers or something like that. I'd love to see them add a guy who can create separation, get targets over the middle, and like counterbalance what they have, especially in the outside, with someone who I think can be successful in the right role with Gabe Davis. But you just don't want him as your second receiver. And of course, for fantasy, this is like the best landing spot.
Wow, they should take Gabriel Davis in prospect form, Quentin Johnson.
I know, that's what I'm worried. They're going to do it again. And I think Quentin Johnson is good, but like you don't need to be redundant in that way. I don't think. Maybe if they're scouting or just Josh Allen's telling them like, hey guys, like I just don't process the middle of the field as well as I throw beautiful deep stuff. Maybe you do go Quentin Johnston. But like, I'd love to see them try and like flesh out their receiver core a little more in ways that are different from Gabe Davis. I agree. He's a Gabe-esque.
It was just a glaring need in the divisional round. There was no one that could create offense for them after Stephon Diggs. And that was just something that game against the Bengals. It was like, there's got to be someone else that can make a play in the passing game. And there just wasn't. And so I totally agree with Kyle. It's an absolutely glaring need. Lawrence, anything you want to say on the Bills, or do you want to talk about
are we saying because like the Bills definitely could use a number 2 receiver? That's something I tried to tell the world all for 2 years, but that's neither here nor there.
Kind of owe that. I don't
neither
know.
here nor there.
Yeah, I don't
it's here. It's here.
But the Bills are not. They're not desperate. They're not desperate. You know what I'm saying? Like they still gonna make it to the playoffs. Like a team like the Tennessee Titans, despite drafting now it's not going to be pretty for fantasy, but they need a receiver despite drafting Treylon Burks in the first round last year. Obviously, the Baltimore Ravens, they've needed receivers well since Steve Smith. They've gotten Rashad Bateman, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I'm saying Ravens with the premise that they'll have Lamar Jackson because that's their quarterback of today. But Kyle mentioned Zay Flowers. That could be a great option for them as well if they can't get a Odell Beckham who they made an offer to. So I see somebody like Zay Flowers fitting well with the new offensive coordinator that they got in that offense.
Yeah, I will say that the Bills' offense was predictable and often stale last year without a second viable pass catcher behind Stephon Diggs. And I think it's reflected in the fact that, and this isn't terrible, but I think it is worth noting, in the second half of the season, Buffalo was 10th in EPA per dropback. And so definitely not elite. I mean, they were behind teams like the Lions, like the Steelers. Okay. So with Josh Allen under center, you would expect something better than that, maybe top 5, top 3, top 1, perhaps. I do think that they would do really well for themselves, and they would be fun for fantasy if they could upgrade at wide receiver 2. Because look, he's not a wide receiver 2 on any team, and he should not be on one of the best offenses in the league.
That is the thing about Gabe, like kidding aside, is he's a role player who got elevated above his role and can probably be a really good number 3 and was a really good number 3 receiver the first 2 years. I mean, he was a day 3 pick who forced his way onto the field as a number 3 receiver as a rookie. But it just seemed like he was like already at his ceiling, basically, I guess is what we have to admit to ourselves.
That was a hell of a 4-touchdown game, wasn't it, fellas?
No one can ever take that away from him or from me. It won me hundreds of dollars. That was a pretty nice game that you had there, Gabe. But you're not a number 2. Man, they just didn't do it in free agency either. I mean, Deontay Hardy, by the way, is on the Bills now. Trent Sherfield was on the Bills.
He's like the Isaiah McKenzie replacement. Like he'll
He
play
is.
like special teams and some offense. He's not a bad
Like that's the thing. Trent Sherfield, like coming into last year, if Trent Sherfield was on that roster, he would have battled with Gabe Davis for that number 2 spot. He would have battled. Hell, he might battle with him now.
Lawrence.
He might do it now.
Cut his mic.
They don't draft no receiver. He might do it now. Man, what about what do y'all feel about the Panthers, who we know are taking a quarterback, presumably C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young? They signed Adam Thielen, but they could probably use something else that could.
That is the correct noise. I understand exactly what that is. You do not need to elaborate. I promise.
No, you don't actually.
Yeah, so maybe if they, then they got DJ Chark too, right?
They did. And Lawrence, the thing we talked about this actually last week, I think, with the Panthers is that they still, despite those signings, need another receiver.
Yeah.
The draft ammo is really, really lacking. After number 1, they have number 39, and then the next pick is number 93. And it's just going to be really, really hard for them.
Choose wisely, right?
A lot of needs for the Panthers. And they probably will take another receiver, but then they got 114. It's probably going to be a day 3 receiver, I think is what it is. And or they're trying to find the next, I don't know, Gabe Davis. And so it's not going to be probably like a noise-making day 2 receiver. Denny, do you have a thought, or was that just a very weird exhale?
No, it was an extremely weird. I'm sorry. It was a muffled laugh, I think.
We don't usually muffle our laughs. We're never shy at all about laughing at ourselves when we're funny.
Listen, I will never muffle my laugh. That's my problem.
So that's kind of the first go around the horn. I mean, Kyle, who's another team that just comes to mind when you're thinking night 1, they're going to be having a receiver up on stage holding their jersey?
I don't think the Chiefs will do it on night 1. I do think they're a team that very obviously has that need. We talk about role players. They are a team that has a bunch of. They even lost some of their role players in free agency, really, with Juju and Mecole going, and they've made essentially no effort to replace them. But I think they proved last year that moneyballing their receiver room will replace them in the aggregate, and then barely even doing that. Dude, when you've got Mahomes, that is somehow good enough. So I don't think it'll be night 1. It's possible, but I think they could just as easily go edge. They also still have a pretty big need at right tackle. So I think ultimately they continue the Moneyball approach. But even if that just means day 2 or 3, that guy, if we learned nothing from Sky Moore last year, I'm going to be excited to draft that guy almost no matter who he is. Because he'll have the shot to earn playing time. There will be very few roadblocks to getting that playing time. Now, just don't fumble it like you do with every punt.
Or just injure your hamstrings. I think what the Chiefs are really doing is the Tobias Funke meme, but it could work for us with Kadarius Toney, and he's going to stay healthy, and that seems to be their big plan at receiver. And I don't know if they can really invest a day 2. Let's see the Chiefs picks here. They're 31. They're 63.
They've got all their picks. They've got those
95.
And then an extra 4th rounder from Miami.
Yeah. If they take a day 2 pick, I'll tell you what, they're not going to a directional Michigan school. They're going to take him from a big school. And someone who's
directional Michigan school.
Someone who's a little more bad.
I want them to get Marvin Mims to get a little bit in the rabbit hole. Dude, Marvin Mims, he has a pretty, maybe we don't need a raw prospect going to them, because I guess Sky Moore maybe could be considered raw, and that's why he didn't play. But Marvin Mims is a stone cold burner with first round production coming out of Oklahoma. He truly does have a profile that is elite from an analytics perspective. And even if he's just sometimes playing, he basically did this as a freshman at Oklahoma. He played half the team snaps or something and was one of the best yards per route run for a true freshman you'll ever find. Because when the dude runs a go route, he's impossible to stop. And I think that's something that you'll never replace Tyreek Hill, but that sort of speed and playing above your weight is something they could maybe find in Marvin Mims. There are other things that Tyreek Hill does that no one else can do, but that aspect of his game, I think Mims could actually replicate that specific part pretty well. And he's also just every time I write up one of these draft previews, when I say a team needs a day 2 receiver, or I'm eyeing day 2 receivers, I just want to throw Marvin Mims in there. Every team should draft this guy. He's good.
Well,
He is.
all 32 will. It's actually allowed under the new CBA.
I actually I think that we're still 4 weeks away from the 2 weeks
3
away?
weeks away.
Yeah.
3 weeks
Yeah.
away from the draft.
So I actually think there's a possibility that the Mims hype, which is just starting really, could get to the point where he's not day 2, or he's day 1.
He could
He
be one of
deserves to
those
be day
players.
one. Like, I think he is legit that good. His like route tree really could use some fleshing out, but like, let him run 9 routes the whole game. Do that, sure.
Hey, that sounds exactly like the Chiefs. That's what they do.
What,
with
what
20
about the Vikings here at 23? That's a place where a rookie.
They've taken a receiver, Lawrence, number 23, 8 straight years in a row. And
Yeah. So
one was Stephon Diggs and one was Justin Jefferson. So they know what they're doing.
and yeah, there you go. You let one of them guys fall there too. I mean, it's proven that a rookie could have success there too. Maybe not to Justin Jefferson level, but it happens. And Adam Thielen, he's gone out. Presumably right now, KJ Osborne is the number 2 receiver right now, but that'll be interesting to see. Another team I look at too, though, is the Bears here, because they could start something with these receivers in the draft. They could start a little, I guess, run where the next 3 or 4 could get picked in the round. And if they did pick a receiver, and we assume that it would be his former teammate Justin Fields' former teammate Jackson Smith-Njigba, it'll let you know where the Bears are trying to take this offense this season after trading for DJ Moore, after getting Robert Tonyan. If they draft Jackson Smith-Njigba at the number 9 pick, let me just write in Justin Fields fantasy quarterback number 1 right there.
That was a beautiful, beautiful scenario you just painted. And if they go receiver, then they're telling us they think he's the next Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
he's ready to.
That means you going all in on him. Running backs not elite, but more than good enough to run in that offense. The perfect, like, you don't need a star running back when you got Justin Fields.
No, so that would be a beautiful, beautiful thing. Denny, you did our free agency primer on receivers. Any team that maybe didn't sign a receiver come to mind for you as a team that could be a first-round receiving destination?
I mean, look, I know obviously the Bills jump out. The Bears would be really interesting, and I agree with Lawrence that that would tell us a lot about how the Bills are going to go into 2023. I'm sorry, the Bears. The Bears are going to go, and I think it reminds me. It's similar to how the Bills were determined to.
I'm getting so confused. Was he meant to say Bears? Did he mean to say Bills?
No, what I was going to say is after the Bills were really run heavy in Josh Allen's early career, they went to a more, balanced, if not pass heavy style. So, hopefully we get that with Justin Fields. We will see. And Justin Fields, by the way, I know there were struggles, but he was good in the passing game last year. Chargers. I would like to see the Chargers draft a wide receiver, because really they just need help. Look, Josh Palmer, I think, proved that he's not. He's a wide receiver 3 at best, I think. I mean, you look at the analytics on Josh Palmer; they're not good. Okay.
They say they hit on Josh Palmer, but they were just like exactly right. Like he's was a great day 2 number 3 receiver.
Good player. Good player. He has some games
for what he is. He's
fine. And then Mike Williams, when healthy, and I know that's a big thing with him, when healthy is helpful. But I also think that the Mike Williams type, the guy the big body receiver who goes downfield and makes plays, is a little bit antiquated in today's NFL, which is full of checkdowns, which is full of quarterbacks facing, especially elite quarterbacks like, you can argue if Justin Herbert is elite, but really good quarterbacks like Justin Herbert.
They throw that word around for anybody now.
Facing a lot of too high safety coverage, right? And then they just completely take away those passes. So I think with the evolution of how teams are approaching the passing attacks of NFL offenses, the Chargers could use somebody who's quick and can do stuff underneath That's not what they have in Keenan Allen, who's fine, who's good at what he does. And that's not what they have in Palmer or Williams. They need somebody else.
No, they absolutely need because Keenan Allen, a year or two max left with the Chargers. Mike Williams probably will age poorly, like you said, arguably already aging poorly. And yeah, I mean, maybe it was Joe Lombardi, but a lot of short throws for Justin Herbert in 3 years. And maybe it's just who he is because it was who he was in Oregon.
Yeah.
Got to get him someone more explosive over the middle of the field.
I was going to bring them up as a team to take a tight end, like for the same reason that like Mike Williams is good at what he does, which is not get separation, but like wins 50-50 balls at a higher than 50-50 rate. He graded like pretty poorly as a receiver in his route running, but he was actually a pretty good receiver in ESPN's catch metrics, which like that's exactly who he is. Like he doesn't get open. And he's more open than you think. But that is, like Denny said, that's definitely not where the NFL is at right now. And I don't think that's just like, I think stylistically, Herbert could probably grow into like utilizing him when he has to more. It didn't seem like he wanted to last year, but I don't think that's ever really going to be like a Justin Herbert wide receiver one. So receiver like makes so much sense. I think Keenan Allen's probably pretty likely to get cut next offseason. I was going to list them as tight end, especially because they're really good pass catching tight ends that could go in the first round. About where they'd be picking, that like that would make sense as if you're not going to go receiver here, say like there's kind of a run on receivers before them, but a tight end, maybe like Dalton Kincaid is available. That would make a ton of sense to fill that role. And both Kincaid and Michael Mayer are so talented as pass catchers coming out of college, even though they play tight end, that I think they'd be a good fit for that role in this year when they still have Keenan Allen. They probably got to go back to the receiver well at some point in the near future. But if you're keeping, and they obviously are keeping Keenan Allen this year, maybe this is the year you address tight end. They have Gerald Everett. He's fine. I think he has 1 year. This is his final year on his contract. They probably won't re-sign him. So maybe this is the year you get to address tight end. And then as Keenan Allen's probably cut next offseason, then you can go back to the receiver well.
Anybody have any final receiver teams they need to get off their chest, or should we move on to tight end to close out this show?
I say we move on.
We move on. Well, Kyle, we'll move on to you. People listening last week heard we talked about this supposedly really deep tight end group.
It's good.
The most kind of like big name, like heavy group we've seen a tight end in a really long time, or there could be multiple first rounders. Tight end is one of the classic positions where people do get like hyped as first rounders and never go in the first round. But this year is supposedly different. So we know some of the names from last week, and we're going to mention some of the names now. Kyle, you said the Chargers could be a team, but who comes to mind when you think first round tight end? Who is the first team that comes to mind for you?
First team is the Packers. Like I don't know what they're doing, Josiah Deguara, but like play him as an H-back.
He's an H-back, yeah. You know.
He's an H-back. Like, dude, he's an H-back. Let him be an H-back. He's probably a good H-back. But like, get a real tight end. How about get a real tight end? They could also use help at receiver too. Cause like obviously Christian Watson was like electric last year, but I'm not sure he's ever like the number one 30% target share guy. I don't think that's who he profiles as. He's like really good as a number two.
He's like a Will Fuller. He's like a Will Fuller.
Yeah, that's like a good like role usage level of comp for him on like a spreadsheet level. So I think tight end makes a ton of sense. I think they're the most commonly team mocked to get Michael Mayer right now. I'm not sure he goes that high in like the middle of the first round, given how unsuccessful like first round tight ends have been, especially on their first contract. By the time some of them are breaking out, you're really looking at their second
coming out
contract.
here. They're wearing number 8, Kyle.
They're wearing number 8. They're losing snaps to whoever the backup is. Is Jesper Horsted the backup in Atlanta? I feel like that's a player Kyle Pitts will lose snaps to.
Last year.
Nah, it's Jonnu Smith who he gonna lose all them snaps.
Yeah, that's
now
right.
It is.
So speaking of H-backs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really. So I think they're. Yeah, I think. Oh man, that's so much Kyle
double
Pitts
tights, baby.
That's really bad. Sorry, continue.
No, you're good. But Packers, that's kind of an obvious one. They wouldn't be as exciting for fantasy because obviously they're going to lose Aaron Rodgers at some point here. Still waiting for it to happen. But so
please just lose Aaron Rodgers, Packers. Please, if you're listening.
I alluded to my mock draft coming out tomorrow. I've been holding it off forever because I'm like, well, we need to see what the Rodgers compensation is. I'm going ahead. I'm not working on this Rodgers clock. The next one is the Bengals. Like the Bengals are the obvious back end of the first round tight end spot. Like they lose Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst was pretty successful for Hayden Hurst standards in that offense, and I don't think he's anything special as a tight end. If they did have a special talent tight end, I'd be really interested to see what they do with him. And their team that like has not shied away in the past from doubling down on pass catching talent, do it again, but also let him block for Joe Burrow, because that's a priority for them. Not only is their line questionable, but Joe Burrow just takes sacks, kind of what he is. So maybe don't give him as many opportunities. I could see them going Darnell Washington. He's like an extra tackle, can also leak out, and they don't need him to command a ton of targets. He can be highly efficient as like a blocking tight end and really good on play action. And that's like perfect for them. They don't need a 20% target share tight end. Let him block really well and then leak out on play action when he's not blocking, and he'll be super efficient. I mean, that's literally what he was at Georgia. So that's kind of an interesting fit. And it's like Mayer's probably not going to be there for them. So I think that makes more sense.
Lawrence, anyone you think of that would maybe take a tight end in round 1, or is this not something you've really thought about much?
Not really, because they picked too high in the round, and that's the Lions. They got the 6th pick, so unless they trade it back, they could. They definitely, and if they don't do it, they could go round 2.
They have their own first round pick. 6 is the Rams, and what, like 19? Is there even in tight end spot?
Yeah, even in the next round, it's a deep class that you could get into. But right now, they're working with Brock Wright here and Shane Zylstra after they traded off TJ Hawkinson. So they definitely could be in that market to add to, that explosive offense. But obviously, like I said, number 6, they could be looking to go defense here. They could use a lot of help over there. But I like them getting in the market for a guy that we spoke about off camera, like a Sam Laporta. He could fit there to play with a Brock Wright, but to use his different skill set in that offense.
I thought you were going to say we talked about Shane Zylstra off camera.
No, I don't ever talk about Shane Zylstra
respect on Shane
right
Zylstra's name. He's the
That's
touchdown.
all I talk about.
I know. It's true. Denny, I mean, anyone you think could be a first round tight end?
All right. Look, it's probably too early in the draft, but the Commanders might want to think about upgrading at the old tight end position, because they have Logan Thomas, who is not young and who has struggled with some catastrophic
He's
injuries.
also, quote, not a tight end.
Not a tight end.
Well, he's a quarterback.
That's what I mean. He is a quarterback. Tight end.
Quarterback. They have John Bates and a bunch of other guys who.
He's a classic. Put some respect on John Bates' name, man.
Look, all I'm saying is that if the Commanders went in, and they need to upgrade their pass catching group in general. Okay, like Terry McLaurin is kind of on an island there. I know that.
Denny, there's a young man named Jahan Dotson who had.
Dotson is fine, but I mean, they could still use some more help. I think.
And putting Dotson on the put some respect on his name list. Him and John Bates, they hang out there all the time.
I didn't know Rotopat was a Commander's truther. I thought we could talk openly about how bad the Commanders are.
After Bezos buys them,
and yeah, you know where your bread is buttered. I have to say though that if they drafted a tight end in the first round at number 16, which is really high, I get it. He's running all the routes. Like, he's going to be out there probably running all the routes in that offense. And if you're not an elite guy like a Kelsey or like an Andrews, you need to be out there running all the routes. So we could get that for fantasy.
But the Commanders came to mind when I was thinking of tight. I see one spot though, where like I am circling this pick. A tight end will be selected here. And that is with the Seattle Seahawks' 2nd pick of the first round at number 20. They will be selecting a tight end. Pete Carroll's favorite position, like tight end for Pete Carroll is like no coach has a favorite position more strongly than Pete Carroll has tight end. And
like nowadays, most teams are like, you're like, oh, they don't really have a need at edge, but like keep taking them. You can never have a deep enough stable of pass rushers, of cornerbacks, like even, take a backup tackle. Like if your tackle goes down, you want that guy. And that is tight end for Pete Carroll for some odd reason.
I would argue that cornerback 6'3" and up is something he like to draft too. That's close. That's close in there. That's close.
The Zoomers will never remember Brandon Browner, or they won't believe he was real. They won't believe he was real. So there was a 7-foot tall cornerback that just committed pass interference every play. Yeah, it was really
he locking them up all right.
Yeah, he was locking them up. Did whatever it took. And these teams that have 2 first-round picks, like the Texans, I feel like could be a threat at 12 to take a tight end. Maybe they would trade down. Take a
Yeah,
tight end.
I think the not the sweet spot, the high end sweet spot for tight end is that 15, 16, 17 range. Because Mayer is a really good prospect. He's an underrated blocker. He is incredibly talented as a receiver. I believe he'll come out as an early declare too. He has the wide receiver type of metrics at the tight end position. And he pretty commonly gets mocked to the Packers is kind of an obvious one, but in that spot, I'm not saying if I were an NFL team, I would do that because of the lack of production. You see Kyle Pitts early in their careers, but I think that's a common place for us to project a tight end to go.
After listening to our podcast, this been tweeted actually. Kyle Pitts is switching to number 48 for the year 2023.
And it's just been announced that I'm done.
For Lawrence, he'll wear 89. He will do 89. If 48 is not acceptable, he'll at least go to the 80s for Lawrence, and he'll do 89.
Lawrence is now a Panthers fan.
88 better than 48.
88 would be amazing. Why is he not 88? It makes no sense.
Too slim for that.
No, he's got.
Yeah, I agree with this. I totally agree with this, Lawrence. He's not an 88. That's a big block.
No, it's a mentality. He needs to project 88.
Okay, all right. I could get on board with this. He's manifesting the block.
88 is a mindset. Des Bryant was 88. He bullied people.
88 is retired by the Falcons' Tony Gonzalez. I'm not really being serious, but it
should be. Yeah.
It should. Yeah, it is.
No, it's really not. It
has
ain't.
been,
He didn't play long enough.
Probably the highlight of the Falcons' entire franchise history is when they did it.
Most definitely.
Was he 87? I can't remember. Maybe
88.
He
legit was 88.
He was 88, man. He's the best player in the Falcons franchise history those 4 years or whatever he was on them.
Definitely.
Actually, it was a lot longer.
Deion Sanders probably, but Tony Gonzalez is second there, yeah.
All the best players in Falcons history were on the Falcons for 4 years.
Yeah.
Andre Rison.
There you go.
Eric Dickerson, more like 4 games.
There you go.
Michael Turner.
2017, Matt Ryan.
A lot of Hall of Famers
Jonas
that
Smith.
been through the Falcons. Brett Favre, Eric Dickerson, Deion, they just never like being there long.
There you
know what I'm
go.
saying?
What's going on in Atlanta?
What is going on in Atlanta? What's going on in the Rotoworld Football Show? The answer is nothing because it's over.
Oh, no.
It's over. We had some good times. We had some good chats today. Really, really good stuff from Denny. Really, really good stuff from Kyle. Really, really good stuff from Lawrence. Kyle, so you got a mock draft coming out on the site?
Yep, tomorrow. By the time you're listening to this, probably today, unless you listen to it on Thursday. Team preview, team needs previews and prospect fits. I don't know how many of them I'm done. They're blurring together. I nearly published the AFC South with a bunch of NFC North teams on it or something. I caught that as it was right before it went live. So it's all blurring together. But yeah, team needs, mock draft, and quarterback, running back, tight end, dynasty rankings, pre-draft rankings are all up. Receivers next week-ish.
Kyle's been stuffing the stat sheet with articles. A lot of really, really, really good stuff for NBC Sports App from Kyle. Denny, you have something coming out as well, do you not?
I do. I have a tight end piece focused on guys who commanded targets, sometimes on limited routes, but we're looking into those guys very strongly, folks. I'm going to have that on the site on Friday.
I thought you were going to say tight ends who should be changing their numbers.
That too.
I would read that. Lawrence, you're on the happy hour earlier this week. I'm assuming you'll be on again next week. Anything else going on right now?
Nah, man, this is actually my first day working here, so I'm not doing nothing.
There you go. Yeah,
I'll be around. Holler if you need me.
Holler if you need Lawrence. If you need me, I'll be in the comments section defending my annual coach rankings, which are currently live. I will tweet at you about them. So please tweet at me about them. I love the engagement. So the NFL coach rankings are live. Would be delighted if you read them. We are delighted that you listened. So for Lawrence, for Kyle, for Denny, I'm Pat. We will be back next week.